Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change notified Living Animal Species Reporting and Registration Rules 2024. Central Consumer Protection Authority (CCPA) has issued an advisory on advertisement of illegal activities. National Sample Survey Office (NSSO) releases Periodic Labour Force Survey (PLFS) 2023. 17th Annual International Biocuration Conference hosted by India. Law Commission has published its 289th report on trade secrets and economic espionage. The report titled Formulating a Strategy of India's Care Economy Unlocking Opportunities has been published. In the very first news, Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change notified Living Animal Species Reporting and Registration Rules 2024. The rules were notified under Section 63 of Wildlife Protection Act WPA 1972 for the purpose of Section 49M of the Act. Section 49M provides for the registration of possession, transfer and birth and reporting of death of living scheduled animal species which are listed in Appendices of Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES, or Schedule 4th of WPA 1972. Section 49M was added through Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022. Here are the key highlights of the rules. Application for registration of possession. Mandatory electronic registration for any possession of any animal species within 6 months. Reporting and registration of birth. Report birth of an offspring of animal species and apply for registration within a period of 7 days. Reporting and registration of transfer within 15 days. Maintenance of stock for people involved in captive breeding through regular health checkup of animals, inform any escape of the animal species and more. Further, take a look at Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022 and CITES. 2022 amendment sought to implement the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Schedule 4th of the WPA includes specimen of flora and fauna listed under CITES. It also provides for management authority to grant export or import permits of trade of species. Moving on, let's learn about the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES. Its secretariat is located in Geneva, Switzerland and is administered by United Nations Environment Programme. Drafted as a result of a resolution adopted in 1973 by International Union for Conservation of Nature and entered into force in 1975, it currently has 184 parties including India. The objective is to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. It is legally binding on the parties. Appendices 1, 2 and 3 to CITES are lists of species afforded different levels or types of protection from overexploitation.
Moving on to the next news. Central Consumer Protection Authority has issued an advisory on advertisement of illegal activities. The advisory, issued as per Consumer Protection Act 2019, emphasizes on prohibition of advertising, promotion and endorsement of unlawful activities prohibited under various laws. If we talk about the reasons for the issuance of this advisory, then it includes the increasing instances of direct as well as surrogate advertisement and endorsements of activities considered illegal such as betting or gambling. Further now, let's discuss and understand the key highlights of the advisory. Any advertisement or endorsement of activities which are otherwise prohibited by law, including but not limited to betting or gambling, shall be subject to rigorous scrutiny. In cases of violations, stringent measures will be initiated against involved, including manufacturers, advertisers, publishers, intermediaries, social media platforms, endorsers, and etc. Moreover, it highlights guidelines for prevention of misleading advertisements and endorsements for Misleading Advertisements 2022, which prohibit advertisements of products or services prohibited under any prevailing law. Now let's also have a look at the status of betting and gambling in India. It is a state subject under the 7th schedule of the Constitution, listed as Entry 34 and Entry 62 for the purpose of taxation of the state list. Based on the erstwhile Public Gambling Act 1867, most state governments have enacted their own laws to deal with betting and gambling within their jurisdictions. In 2023, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting issued advisory on advertisements, including surrogate advertisements of online betting platforms. At last, now let's also have a look at the Central Consumer Protection Authority. It is a statutory body under Section 10 of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. Its objective is to promote, protect and ensure the rights of consumers as a class. It is composed of a Chief Commissioner and such number of other commissioners as may be prescribed. Talking about its powers and functions, then it includes conducting investigations into violation of consumer rights and institute complaints or prosecution and order recall of unsafe goods and services.
Moving on to the next news. National Sample Survey Office NSSO releases Periodic Labour Force Survey PLFS 2023. It was launched in 2017. The key objective of PLFS is to estimate the key employment and unemployment indicators, namely Labour Force Participation Rate LFPR, Work Population Ratio WPR and Unemployment Rate UR. In the short time interval of 3 months for the urban areas only in current weekly status CWS and in both usual status and CWS in both rural and urban areas annually. Let's discuss the key indicators used in PLFS. Labour Force Participation Rate LFPR, percentage of persons in the labour force that is working or seeking or available for work in the population. Worker Population Ratio WPR, percentage of employed persons in the population. Unemployment Rate UR, percentage of persons unemployed among the persons in the labour force. And Activity Status. It is determined on the basis of the activities pursued by the person during the specified reference period preceding the date of survey. For the usual status, reference period is 365 days and for the current weekly status CWS, the reference period is 7 days. Here are the key findings of the report. In 2023, there was a notable increase in labour force participation rates across various demographics compared to 2021. The total labour force participation rate rose with an increase in both rural and urban areas. Moreover, there was an increase in male participation and a substantial increase in female participation. Additionally, the overall workforce participation rate also rose from 52.9% to 58%. However, the unemployment rate experienced a decrease from 4.2% to 3.1% over the same period. In another news, 17th Annual International Biocuration Conference hosted by India. Biocuration refers to collection, curation and integration of information related to the biological sciences into databases or resources. The 17th Annual International Biocuration Conference is the first ever biocuration conference in India and was organized by the Indian Biological Data Center IBDC. IBDC is the first national repository for life science data in India, supported by the Department of Biotechnology (DBT). In the conference, it was highlighted that growth of bioeconomy in India will be derived by biomanufacturing and biofoundry. Bioeconomy is the production, utilization and conservation of biological resources, including related knowledge, science, technology and innovation. On the other hand, biomanufacturing is a process of production which uses both natural and engineered biological systems to produce biomaterials which can be used on a commercial scale. For example, microorganisms and cell culture. And biofoundry is a state-of-the-art facility providing a platform to accelerate discovery and bioengineering for the emerging bioeconomy. It is based on the mechanism of Design, Build, Test, Learn (DBTL) cycle. It will provide environment-friendly alternatives such as biodegradable polymers, bioplastics, biopharmaceuticals, and bioagri-inputs. It will also change current consumptive manufacturing paradigm to one based on regenerative principles. Let's look at the initiatives taken for the growth of bioeconomy. Interim Budget 2024-25, a new scheme of biomanufacturing and biofoundry has been proposed. Promotion of biotechnology research, bio-startups, bio-incubators and bioclusters. National Biotechnology Development Strategy 2015. National Mission on Bioeconomy 2016 by Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development IBSD. Lastly, National Biopharma Mission 2017.
Moving on to the next news. Law Commission has published its 289th report on trade secrets and economic espionage. Previously, in 2017, the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislative Department forwarded a reference to the Law Commission to examine the possibility of enacting the Trade Secrets Act and Economic Espionage Act. If we talk about trade secrets, then it encompasses confidential business information which may be sold or licensed, it is relatively new entrant within the domain of intellectual property rights. Further talking about economic espionage, then it is the act of deliberate acquisition of confidential information from domestic companies and government entities to benefit a foreign state. It can be economic, industrial, or commercial. Enacting laws on trade secrets and economic espionage is imperative for several reasons. Firstly, it facilitates the seamless transfer of technology and promotes collaboration among industries internationally. Secondly, it safeguards the creative resources and intellectual property of micro, small and medium enterprises as well as startups, fostering innovation and economic growth. Moreover, such legislation is crucial for shielding critical sectors like defense, nuclear and telecommunications from the threats posed by economic espionage. Additionally, consolidating the current fragmented legal framework enhances certainty and compliance, thereby reinforcing the overall integrity of trade secret protection. Now let's understand the key recommendations of the report. It recommends to enact separate laws for trade secrets and economic espionage. Commercial espionage, however, will fall within the purview of the proposed Trade Secrets Act. Also, it suggests to provide a broad definition of trade secrets to allow room for judicial interpretation so that emerging aspects and industries may also fit within the legal framework. Moreover, it also provides exceptions for whistleblowers, compulsory licensing, and government use. At last, now let's also have a look at the existing legal framework on trade secrets and economic espionage. In India, there is no singular law addressing the issue of misappropriation of trade secrets. Indian Contract Act 1872 and Specific Relief Act 1963 apply to contractual matters. IPC 1860 includes sections related to theft, criminal breach of trust, and cheating, and Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 also contains similar provisions. Moving on to the next news. The report titled Formulating a Strategy for India's Care Economy, Unlocking Opportunities has been published. The report was prepared by the Confederation of Indian Industry or CII along with others. CII was supported by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. If we talk about care economy, then it consists of the paid and unpaid labor and services that support caregiving in all its forms. It includes domestic chores, taking care of family members such as children and elderly, or looking after individuals who are ill or have disabilities. Let's now understand why we need a care economy in India. Firstly, the changing demographic landscape of India may lead to demand for more elderly care and substantial dependency burden on children. Also, there is wide gender gaps in unpaid domestic and care work that represents an economic value of almost 15% to 17% of the GDP. Moreover, investments in care infrastructure will create new business opportunities and generate jobs. Further now, let's have a look at its key recommendations or 5 pillars. First is maternity and paternity leave policies that should involve incentives for MSME or startups and have market-based financing. Next is the introduction of subsidies for care services for elderly and childcare to NGO or SHGs. Third pillar is public investment in care infrastructure and mobilization of public-private partnership. Fourth is skill training for care workers with certification. And at last, there should be an institutional mechanisms for quality assurance such as establishment of sector skill council and collection of data. Lastly, let's have a look at the creation of care economy ecosystem. In public sector, schemes have been introduced by the government including Saksham Anganwadi Poshan 2.0, Palna Ghar, Rashtriya Vyoshri Yojana and others. In private sector, privately owned facilities for care such as care centers for children and dependent adults and personal care providers for in-home assistance. At last, community-based organizations include community-run care services and creche operators. The personality in news for today is Govind Ballabh Pant. His death anniversary has been commemorated on 7th March. Govind Ballabh Pant was a freedom fighter and served as first Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. Now let's have a look at his contributions. He participated in movements like civil disobedience and Quit India. He also represented Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan and other revolutionaries involved in the Kakori case 1925. As a Union Home Minister, he played a key role in reorganization of states along linguistic lines and establishment of Hindi as an official language of the Union government and a few states. He was awarded with Bharat Ratna in 1957. He exhibited the values of compassion and leadership.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. Competition Commission of India (CCI) notified 3 regulations dealing with global turnover, commitment and settlement under the Competition Amendment Act 2023. Penalties would now be levied based on global turnover. The need for this arose from the abuse of dominant position by enterprises. US envoy to Lebanon emphasized situation along the blue line has to change to guarantee peace and security. Israel and Lebanon have no official border separating them except the blue line. It was set by the United Nations in 2000 and the purpose was to confirm the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the south of Lebanon. At 20th meet of US-India Counterterrorism Joint Working Group, US and India reaffirmed commitment to cooperation in GCTF for shared security interest within Indo-Pacific. It was launched in 2011 as an informal, apolitical, multilateral counterterrorism platform. CSIR, Indian Institute of Petroleum, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Uttarakhand State Council for Science and Technology to deploy the technology of making fuel from pine needles, that is, pointed leaves of a pine tree. It has been found that certain cosmetic products contain harmful chemicals like benzene. Benzene is a colorless or light yellow liquid at room temperature. It is a highly volatile compound and is a natural component of gasoline and tobacco smoke. Naval Detachment Minicoy has been commissioned in Indian Navy as INS Jatayu. Minicoy is southernmost island of Lakshadweep. It will also augment Indian Navy's capability as the first responder in the Indian Ocean region and augment connectivity with the mainland. Recently, Sandoz received FDA approval for first and only denosumab biosimilars. Denosumab can address primary and secondary bone loss such as osteoporosis. Biosimilar is a medicine that is very close in structure and function to a biologic medicine. President of India conferred Sangeet Natak Academy Fellowships and Awards for the years 2022 and 23. The Academy Awards are being conferred since 1952. It symbolizes highest achievement in music, dance and drama. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to the test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.